the meeting?
Motion to start Tuesday's February 17 meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trent. Okay, we'll do roll call. Trent,
Present.
Diana,
Present.
and I am also present. Okay, let's open up. Is there any public comment that we would like to address? No? All right, then. I guess we'll just go straight to it then.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. I believe one of the presenters had a comment.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, they had a request. I'm not sure if this would be a good time to, I don't know, to address that. Or maybe when we get to item number 4, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and Serena, this concerns you. So maybe if you want to request the chair, if that, if the committee can consider that request. So at the next item. All right, Madam Chair, we can move on to the next item.
Okay. So is there any public comment?
I don't see any hands raised. Do any of the participants want to address the committee?
Okay, then we'll move on to number 4, which is the presentations. I have first Community Human Services for Seaside, the Genesis House facility improvements. Who will be doing that presentation?
Madam Chair, we have Andrew with the boys and girls. I apologize. Miss Robin with Community Human Services. But before we proceed with that presentation, did you want to take the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District's request? Serena,
Yes, absolutely.
Serena, would you like to address the committee?
I was just curious if I've got some babysitter constraints, so I was just curious if there was any flexibility in the order, but no worries if not.
Well, does Genesis House have any issue with her going first?
No, please be our guest.
Okay, that's been resolved. Please feel free to go first.
Thank you, Robin. That's very kind of you. So my name's Serena Eichelberger. I'm the administrator at Monterey Adult School with Monterey Peninsula Unified School District. And I'm here with our fiscal specialist, Chris Perry, who's also on the Zoom call. Hi, Chris. Thank you, Haroon, for presenting our slideshow for today. So we just wanted to start off with a few photos on slide 1. Perfect. Just a few of our courses. We are Monterey Adult School, part of the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District. We're located at 1295 LaSalle in Seaside. Next slide, please. So we're gonna go into about us, discuss the construction portable request and the community mural request, and leave time for questions and answers. Next slide, please. So Monterey Adult School's vision is unlocking doors to opportunity, and we achieve this vision, with our mission, where we provide educational opportunities for individuals to meet their personal, academic, civic, and career goals in a safe and supportive environment, which honors culture and diversity while encouraging open, effective communication as a bridge to lifelong learning and success. So you see, we have a few of our graduates, a few of our students doing a diversity presentation, and working on our community garden, which was graciously funded by City of Seaside Community Development Block Grant. So a little bit about us. We want to play a very short video. Haroon, if you wouldn't mind playing the program's video, please. And this video just showcases a little bit about our community, who we serve, and highlights our programs. So we have a strong high school diploma program, and we'll get started. And if we could get the volume. So while we
Monterey Adult School to provide
thank you.
educational opportunities for individuals to meet their personal, academic, civic, and career goals in a safe and supportive environment. Here we honor culture and diversity while encouraging open, effective communication as a bridge to lifelong learning and success.
All classes is free, and I learned many new things there.
Monterey Adult School is the teachers, the way that they teach us, everything.
Whether it be English as a second language or acquiring your GED, Monterey Adult School teachers and staff are dedicated to helping you succeed in your goals.
We love Monterey Adult School. Teacher and other staff, very nice.
I like to attend the courses at Monterey Adult School because it's very comfortable for me, and I like to improve my English because 1 year ago I moved from my country. I'm from Russia.
This is a very good school, I would say. I have learned very much since I started. So it has improved my English speaking and my writing and also reading, which is something that's helping me a lot.
And I like teacher because she's very professional, and I learned many new things here.
Monterey Adult School, and I can improve my English better every day here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So at Monterey Adult School, we serve all adults age 18 and older. We have very strong adults as second language, or English as a second language, adult basic skills, adult secondary ed, which includes high school diploma and the equivalency. And then we have a career technical ed program that focuses on culinary arts, information technology, construction trades, health careers. We also focus on parent education to increase literacy and K-12 success. And we also serve adults with different abilities. Next slide, please. So this is just some of our partners that we work with. Of course, the City of Seaside is a partner that allowed for us to offer hands-on learning and community garden with our garden grant in previous years, and the introduction of our construction trades through the phase 1 of the construction portable rehab. Next slide, please. So we serve, currently our enrollment is a bit low due to the pandemic, but we serve 900 or about approximately 600 students with an estimated increase in Q4, about 100 to 150. We've shown over the last few years prior to the pandemic that statewide adult education enrollment was dropping and ours was increasing. Next slide, please. And we have a breakdown of our demographics in gender, age group, and ethnicity. And one of the things, a significant barrier to employment and access to education, it does include self-reported low literacy levels, English proficiency, and many of our students for a family of 4 are living under $7,500 a year. Next slide, please. So we are requesting funding for the construction portable rehab phase 2. This is a program that focuses on pre-vocational basic skill building that addresses equity through increased access and success into the pre-apprenticeship program. Focuses on safety, trade-specific vocabulary, and basic math skills that are needed for success in the pre-apprenticeship program that is being offered in Castroville through the trades of Monterey and Santa Cruz County. We are hoping to finish the minor repairs to the construction classroom and address equity in the trade industry through targeting a certain demographic. So you can see our proposed budget total, consumables, the equipment, and the contracted services. Next slide, please. And then our second request is for a community. Not sure. Let's go to the next slide. Not sure what happened there. I apologize. Thank you. So our community mural is the second request. So we are hoping to partner with professional muralists who will collaborate with the student body to design and paint 2 murals on the beige walls, one facing La Salle and the other facing Playa, under the theme of pandemic resilience. This pandemic has been really tough for a lot of folks and in the community. And one of the things that we take a lot of pride in is how our community has really leaned into their social capital and despite such barriers have been able to persevere in attaining their education so that they can achieve economic mobility in their fields and support their families. So it provides an opportunity for our local community to showcase their assets and strengths and really focuses on aspirations for the future. And it was also would be very helpful for deterring gang-related tagging that has kind of plagued those beige walls over the years. So we have the consumables, the non-consumables, and the consultant services for a proposed request of $58,000. Next slide, please. And we appreciate your consideration and your time for being able to present today. These are just some of our students in their culinary arts program, the certified nursing assistants, our recent community garden, diversity, and the computer skills, digital literacy. Next slide, please. And these are our students with their digital literacy certifications and showcasing their intro to catering. Are there any questions?
Trent, Diana, do you have any questions?
So for the mural, would the students be involved in that at all, or what would their involvement be?
Yes, excellent question. So what we, in previous employment opportunities that I've had, we've been able to work with muralists who have a lot of experience working with schools. And so what we've done in the past, what we're hoping to do is to be able to gather community input about what is meaningful to them and what they would like to see under this theme of pandemic resilience. And I think that really, can look differently for different people, but we want it to be born from our community, from our school community. Many of our students walk to school, live in the neighborhood, sometimes take the bus. And so our school community, I think, is really reflective of the Seaside community in general. And being able to focus on the assets and the strength that they bring and have brought through the entire pandemic is a legacy that we would want to be able to live on. So not only in the creation of the design itself, but then the muralist tends to, it looks different for different artists, but what I've seen in the past is kind of like not a paint by numbers exactly, but they kind of map out the sketch and then have different working sessions where students come and they participate in the actual painting of the murals. And so it'd be this kind of ongoing community building opportunity that allows them to really focus on their aspirations and their strengths, which, is just an approach to healing from the trauma, the collective trauma that we've all experienced. And so we're really excited about this potential opportunity because, we just feel like we all need to take that time to celebrate our strengths and to really focus on the future after going through such unique times. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
How many muralists are involved in this?
So we haven't like finalized how many muralists, but we have two kind of beige walls, one on Playa and one on LaSalle. And what we thought would be probably the most effective is to have one muralist kind of focus on each wall. So one does one wall and one does the other wall. That would allow for both sides of like the community and the access to have that beautification. And it would allow for more students to be involved because, you know, there's along the sidewalk, there's only a certain number of people that would fit. But if we're able to do both sides, then we can have more students be directly involved in the actual application piece of it.
How did you come up with the $40,000 for the muralist?
Excellent question. So a friend of colleague, a friend of mine is the deputy director for the Center for Cultural Power. That is an organization in San Francisco, and they do a lot of work around like with artists. And so I basically leaned to the nonprofit community and asked what are the going rates for these types of things. And those numbers specifically, I mean, because you could pay like one muralist to just do an art project.
Right.
But for us, it was really important that the community had a heavy hand, not only in the design, but also in the application, so that it became a community event that brought people together and had this long lasting sense of pride and impact in the community, rather than just like one artist showcasing their skills and ideas. So I just asked, you know, what is, in their experience, what is stuff that artists charge typically for these things, and specifically for the community engagement piece, not just a mural.
Have you taken any bids on it, or is this just the figure that you've come up with?
No, we haven't taken any bids yet. We have a couple of artists in mind, but we really wanted to just lean into like the local artists as well. We're not opposed to looking at, you know, youth artists that are in the community and artists that are locally known, that have been known to kind of do this work in the community as well. And so we didn't want to limit ourselves to just artists that we've already been familiar with, but really when the time comes, like my hope is that we would be able to capitalize on the talent that is in the community.
Okay.
I have a few questions. Okay, so how come, I don't, maybe it wasn't like thought about, but MPUSD, I know at Monterey High School, has several murals throughout the years. And the head person that has put together has usually been an educator within the school system, and that has designed those murals for each graduating class. Why wasn't that concept utilized here, and it would have not cost you for, you know, $40,000 based on seeking out an outsourced consultant on how to go about on this?
Yeah, excellent question. So Monterey Adult School is fiscally independent from Monterey Peninsula Unified School District, which means that we're funded through the Adult Education Consortium. And the funds they go directly to Monterey Adult School as opposed to the district. So all of our systems, our attendance systems are different. Our teachers are actually not salary, they are only, they're hourly. And so it's a whole different structure than what you see at a traditional K-12. On top of that, we can only provide funding under the 7 CAPE program areas. Those are the only allowable expenses. And so like art isn't necessarily under those categories because it doesn't fall under ESL or this or that. And so the entire structure, I mean, it's not, even though we're a school for adults, and the structure that I think allows for like an art teacher who is already engaged and working with students and they're in the schedule on a regular basis, it's not the same structure at adult ed. And so if we were to hire an art teacher for that, I think the cost would probably be more than a contracted service provider. But if you know anybody, I'd love to.
Not, I mean, not necessarily. You might be surprised that one of the local art teachers is willing to contribute and volunteer those services to help the adult students out. My other clarification needed is your first request, you had stated in your slide that it was 55,000, and that's for an additional unit. Are you submitting this request because the adult school also doesn't have access to like capital improvement funds?
Yes, correct. So through the consortium, capital improvement funds can only be funded with a unanimous vote through the consortium, which is typically not what the consortium funds. So any capital improvements, we have to look for outside funding.
So are you over capacity because of projected enrollment currently, or are you under capacity?
I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question.
I'm trying to understand if you need additional square footage to be able to provide instruction for your adult students.
Oh, got it.
And
Yes.
that's why you're asking for that non-permanent structure building.
Got it. So the structure is already there. It would be to make it like into a usable space, because we are expanding our career technical education. We partner with the Monterey County Workforce Development Board to see what types of job opportunities that offer median wage jobs in the area. And so with that, there is the construction trades was one of those industries that has a lot of employment, and not low wage employment like entry level, but actually livable wage in the area. And so because of the data, the employment data that indicates that that industry is one where students can gain economic mobility and not just, earn minimum wage, but earn livable wage, that was one that we wanted to offer. So the construction trades is a new career technical education program, and it's under our integrated educational training, which pairs the industry specific skills with the, thank you, Andrew, industry specific skills with the with support for English literacy. So being able to support students who might not have strong English skills, but are interested in a pre-apprenticeship program that gives them the English support paired with the technical support and the industry specific support so that they could have success in their pre-vocational apprenticeship program.
But the current space that you have utilized to provide instruction for your adult students, are you running out of room of that available square footage that you currently have available? So I want to know.
Yes.
It seems like to me you're asking for an extension because you don't have accessible square footage to provide that level of instruction that you want to provide for your adult students. So I want to know if it's because you have too many students enrolled, your projections are above capacity, and that's why you need that extra square footage.
Yeah, correct. All of our classrooms are currently being used for all of our other program. In order for us to expand in the construction trades, we would need the additional space.
Now, do you have any current square footage where it's multi-use rooms?
Yes, we do. And we currently offer our culinary programs, our adults with disabilities or different abilities. We have it as it's also used like as a polling place, special events, but it's used on a daily basis, both morning and night.
Okay. And I just want to make sure we get this on the record. Andrew wrote on the chat, Andrew Bide, he wrote, the Arts Council for Monterey County is a good resource for contracting professional artists and muralists.
Yes.
That's a helpful hit that he put in there.
Thank you, Andrew. We will definitely be contacting the Arts Council for Monterey County. Thank you.
Yes, and I just, getting back to the mural, you want to do two, so you're looking at $20,000 per mural.
Yes.
And I just think possibly we have resources here in the area instead of maybe going up to San Francisco, where we could keep it local. Even if you contacted CSUMB, MPC, Hartnell, something that wouldn't quite come up to $20,000 per mural.
Thank you. We will definitely take heed of that suggestion. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Trent, Diana?
None for me.
I don't have anything else to add, so I wanted to thank you so much for waiting for me. And again, I apologize. You know how life is. You can't always do everything you plan on doing.
No worries at all. And thank you so much to everyone. I appreciate the flexibility and, you know, on to the parenting job.
Well, thank you so much, Serena, and also Chris for your participation, and Andrew for the comment there. I guess we're ready to move on now.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, I guess we'll start with the beginning, going back to Genesis House.
So I didn't have a chance to type into the chat box, but there's also a youth arts collaborative that might be able to assist with finding muralists or assisting with that project.
Wonderful, thank you.
Anytime you're ready, Haroon.
All right, getting this ready.
So I'd like to introduce myself briefly. I'm Robin Mcrae.
I didn't get your name, I apologize.
Okay, great. I'm Robin Mcrae with Community Human Services. I'm the CEO, and I've been with Community Human Services now coming up on 30 years in May. And you all, I think, are familiar with Rob Rapp. He was our former development director. So it's my, I'm stepping in here since Rob has moved on to work with Sun Street Centers. And it's my pleasure to present this project to you tonight. So this is for our facilities improvements at Genesis House, which is a residential drug treatment program that's been serving Seaside for, oh gosh, probably since about 1978. Next slide, please. This is the facility, picture taken about 5 years ago. It's located at 3 contiguous apartment buildings on Sonoma Avenue, and the main address is 1152 Sonoma Seaside. Next. So what does Genesis House provide? It provides residential drug treatment for the community. It's a state licensed program. It's funded by Medi-Cal, so there's no cost to the participants, which is a terrific benefit because cost is not a barrier to someone who wants to seek treatment for drug use and to be in recovery. The capacity of the program is 36 beds. Generally, there are 28 beds co-ed for male or female adults, and 8 beds for perinatal women. The apartments are always either all male or all female, so it's difficult to say how many beds there are for male or female. It depends on the number of males and females presenting for treatment. So in addition to the 36 beds, there are 6 beds for children that are age 0 to 5 who can come into the program with their mother, which is a great reduction in barriers for those women, because pregnant women or women with children are often fearful of putting their children in someone else's care while they're in treatment for fear that they'll lose custody of their children. So the services that are provided at Genesis House include withdrawal management, medication assistance. There are medications that can assist someone through the difficult stages of withdrawal and also can assist someone with symptoms of cravings. We do an individualized treatment plan with each person. They receive individual and group counseling and education as well. We actually have a licensed person on site providing mental health services. There's a family program that's provided on the weekend to teach people, family members, how to support their loved ones in treatment and the dynamics of addiction and the brain chemistry of addiction and the process of recovery and what recovery looks like. We do aftercare planning with people to prepare them for reentry into the community and to provide them with relapse prevention tools. And we also offer a grad group once a week where graduates of the program can come back. It's like a 12-step group. It's not technically a 12-step group, but it's a mutual support group. Next. So the target population and service goals of Genesis House is what I'm going to talk about next. We serve low and very low Monterey County residents, 18 years of age and older, both male and female. And these are individuals with a substance use disorder diagnosis or with co-occurring substance use disorder and mental illness diagnosis. The projected number of individuals to be served per year is 130. And I just looked at the last couple of years, there's typically about 60 residents from the city of Seaside in that 130. That number varies depending on the number of Seaside residents who are seeking treatment, but that was about the average over the last couple of years. So some of the benefits of treatment include improvements that the individual experiences. They have better physical health, spiritual health, emotional health. They become more employable, or if they're in school, their academic performance improves, or they return to school if their education has been derailed. They experience fewer arrests and spend less time in jail and prison. The family also experiences benefits. Child abuse and neglect go down, domestic violence goes down. You know, when someone in the family is sick, the rest of the family is as sick as the person experiencing the actual addiction. There's a whole family dynamic that the whole family sort of revolves around the sickest person in the family, trying to find them help, trying not to cause any problems for that person so that person doesn't continue to use or drink. And so the whole family experiences that physical and emotional effects of the addiction. So the community also realizes benefits from people being, getting treatment and going into recovery. Crime is reduced, so there's less demand or less need for jails, law enforcement, less money may be spent on jails and law enforcement. Driving impaired rates go down, so that not only reduces the number of jail, the jail entrance into jail, but also reduces harm and death to people who are involved in impaired driving accidents. The hospitals see fewer admissions for overdoses or alcohol and drug related illnesses like liver, kidney disease, things of that nature, and also fewer admissions from impaired driving accidents. Social services also, there's a less stress on social services for removing children from the home or investigating child neglect, things of that nature. And obviously less impact on law enforcement and homeless services providers. Not to mention the courts. There's fewer people entering into the court system as a result. Next. So our specific request is really for capital improvements. These are construction projects. They're small construction projects. We plan to go out to bid and contract with the lowest qualifying bidder on these projects. The first one in 2022 is we're requesting $40,000 to paint the exterior of the facility. You saw two of the buildings there, wooded sided buildings, 2-story with exterior staircases, and there's 3 buildings in total. And we had an estimator who has 30 years in the business who ballparks it'll probably be $40,000, and that would include minor costs for administrating the project. Most of that would go actually towards the contractor. And the exterior improvements will improve the appearance and the facade of the facility, protect the structure from elements. It's quite old, and you know, a good coat of paint is good to keep the elements out of the structure. It'll ensure that our services will remain viable and open and accessible to the community. That's such an important community service because it provides those treatment services at no cost to the participants. And then in 23-24, pardon my typo, we're requesting also $40,000 to remove and replace the tub showers. These are built right now they're tile and ceramic tubs and tile surrounds, and then the shower overhead. All of that have to be removed, and we'll replace it with tub units that you can just put right in. So we won't go to the expense of tiled surrounds. We'll use the sort of the all-in-one tub shower units that go right in. I believe there's 8 of them, and right now there's quite a bit of leakage, which is damaging the subfloors. So we've been spending money on repairing those things, and that's just kind of, eating us up, nickeling and diming us to death, if you will. If we can replace those tub showers, it'll prevent further damage to the subfloors. They'll clean up the subfloors as well. And it'll keep our services viable again, like the other project, and ensure the ongoing accessibility of these services to the community. Next. That's it. It's a pretty straightforward request with 2 simple construction projects that we hope that you will consider funding. And I'm available now to answer your questions.
Hi, so what's the reasoning for the painting before the replacing of the showers if that's causing damage?
Well, we could flip them. We had trouble with our the application. It wasn't going to allow us to apply for a 2-year funding, and we thought we might be limited to a 1-year funding. And we thought we would do the paint all at once, because that can't really be done in pieces. But if we needed to, we could break up the showers, do them one at a time. Although that would also be better. It would reduce the disruption of services to do them all at once. That was one we could break up if we weren't going to receive funding for. So we could do that one in phases. But, if we're fortunate enough to get funding for both, we could flip them and do those first. That would be ideal.
I see.
That was my question also. What is your recidivism rate?
In terms of who drops out and who stays on?
Well, and who ends up coming back?
Oh, well, we don't have that. We don't have the capacity to track those things long term. Typically about 150 participate every year, and about half of those stay in the program long enough to graduate. And when we used to do 3-month and 6-month follow-up studies, which we don't have the capacity to do anymore, about 95% of those were still clean and sober at 3 and 6 months.
Wow.
So what we say is that people to first stay long enough for the miracle to happen, because if you can stay long enough to graduate from the program, you have an excellent chance of remaining clean and sober.
Okay, and how are they referred to you? Is it court mandated?
Some by the courts, some by other providers, some are self-referred. So some are by social services, like a social worker working with a family where child custody issues. So the judge or the social worker will refer. Occasionally a probation officer or a parole officer. They really do come from all different areas of the community.
Okay, thank you. Diana?
So I was wondering, total how many beds you have in total available now?
Right now, we're operating at a slightly reduced capacity. It was at about 20, and we're going back up to about 25 or 26. That's because we have to leave space for isolation and quarantine. We have had some COVID there, but not as much as you might imagine would happen at a residential facility. We're managing it pretty well. But we are slowly building that back up to the 36 as things changed in the COVID environment. But still, we expect to serve at least 130 under the current conditions. But there's 36 total licensed beds, and we're at about 25 right now.
And how is your I know you're focused on the showers because obviously that's becoming an issue. But how is your eating area?
That looks fabulous. We've done work. In fact, you have helped us pay for that work over the years. I don't know how many years ago, but it was in recent past. You helped us renovate the kitchen, and then a couple of years later, you helped us remove and replace the range with a professional range and a fire suppressant hood. So that was all in thanks to CDBG grants from the city of Seaside. And there've been a number of them. You've been helping us keep the facility upgraded over the past several years.
Okay.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
How close to capacity are you guys usually running at?
Well, before COVID, we were at capacity all the time and had a waiting list. And now we're at our COVID capacity and trying to grow that or increase that as things change with COVID, which is every day, as you know. But it looks like things are going to be getting kind of more open. But the Department of Healthcare Service does have some restrictions. We have to have isolation quarantine areas. So right now we're at 25 and there's still a waiting list.
Any other questions? No.
So thank you very much for your support over the years, and we hope you can find it to support us again this year and next year.
Thank you, Robin. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, looks like we're ready to move on to the Boys and Girls Club of Monterey County for Seaside Clubhouse Kitchen and Exterior Door Project. Who will be giving that presentation?
Madam Chair, we have Mr. Andrew Y. with the Boys and Girls Club who will be presenting.
Great. Go ahead, Andrew.
All right. Thanks, everyone. So I'm going to go just kind of right into the project request. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Monterey County, and are tasked with writing and managing our community development block grants. We've been awarded with the City of Seaside. We also have 2 with the County of Monterey for South County support services. So our proposed project, the first year we want to address our kitchen floor and then assess our lighting and kitchen appliances. As an organization, we feel the best stewardship of a community development block grant are to look for long-term solutions that are going to allow us to increase services or be more efficient with the existing resources to the community. Year 2, we have, as the building approaches 30 years, we have numerous exterior door that either require full replacement or the hardware components. So the door itself is fine, but whether it's the push panels or the interior bars that keep the doors enclosed safely and securely, and locking mechanisms will need replacement in quite a few areas of the club.
Excuse me.
It's a little bit hard to capture in some of the pictures. I wish I had time to do a video, but this picture just kind of shows some sections that are being removed and falling out between the tile. The next slide will show kind of a view into and out of the doors there. The picture facing your left. So, these commercial kitchens have specific grading in the flooring to allow moisture or water to drain properly. I don't know if you can fully appreciate, but you'll see that where it's sloping kind of going to your left, there's now starting to be some bubbling or some elevation in the flooring that's causing it to be uneven as you exit into through that door into the community room. And then the picture there is just to kind of highlight where we start to get some wear and tear, which the biggest issue when you start to see floor work like this is it's just very expensive to repair. So eventually you look at it and go, it's much more cost effective to replace and again have that 25-30 year solution, as we've seen, as this is the original flooring from 1994. Next slide. Just a recap on the beneficiaries. So last year the grant served 352 youth as members. So those are members who are residing in Seaside. Their intake eligibility is based on free and reduced lunch status. As the pandemic concludes, we anticipate returning to a number of 800 youth annually served as members in the Seaside Clubhouse. I use that term membership because we capture that data to report back to the city and HUD on our beneficiaries, but the benefit of like community groups or facility usage where we can't necessarily ask them to kind of complete our registration form, but the community at large benefits. And I'll give a couple examples below here shortly. We served 43,358 meals and snacks in 2021. And we also distributed 3,000 food boxes as evidenced in the picture there in the slide. So here's a good example most recently of community use. We held approximately half a dozen vaccination clinics in partnership with CHOMP. So again, we're not really able to track that data in terms of Seaside residency, but as you can imagine, with over 1,300 shots administered, there was a tremendous Seaside city participation in terms of residents for that. We also are strategically located adjacent to Casino Park. So as you can imagine, all of the wonderful improvements, right, kind of that park ribbon cutting happened, and then COVID, in just those, I want to say it was about 6 weeks of full operation, we had already started to receive requests such as our sports league is going to have their banquet. Can they come into the club and use the community room and kitchen? And our CEO, Ron Johnson, whom maybe several of you know, has been in the community for almost 30 years and a local resident. Our philosophy is to not charge for a rental. So we don't have like $100 or any kind of hourly rate for any aspect of our facility. The only thing we ask is that sometimes the facility request may not allow us to permit staffing already assigned. So for example, for years preceding the pandemic, we would have like youth basketball, youth volleyball groups with the city and other clubs use our facilities in the evening. We didn't have to charge because our custodial crew was working in the evenings when our kids are not in the classrooms and program spaces. We didn't have any staffing costs to pass on to the users. So we've tried to be very efficient, knowing how much the city of Seaside has supported our organization, including letting us use the grounds that the club is at currently. Next slide, please. Just speak briefly about past performance. You probably noticed this in our application. We have been very fortunate to be a longstanding recipient of community development block grants in the city of Seaside. This picture here shows we converted several older locker rooms into restrooms as that demand was increasing with our gymnasium use. We wanted to have additional restrooms. These also were enclosed. So in terms of having kind of a family restroom dynamic for youth leagues, that was something that the community asked for, and the community development block grant supported that request. Next slide. With the gymnasium improvements, we also refurbished all of the padding along. It was about 36 panels throughout the gym, just to ensure safety with all the physical activity, both for our students during the day as well as any community use for leagues. We also just might add, we had a first full season that concluded before the pandemic of adult basketball. We had, I want to say it was almost 150 adults in the city of Seaside participate in this adult basketball league, and it had a ton of momentum. So I also just want to kind of show, while our mission is supporting youth 6 to 18 from a stewardship of the facility, we were really excited to see adults being able to participate as well in a really healthy environment. Next slide, please. And then finally, this with the kitchen improvements in the last 2-year grant cycle. So this is a new, it was approximately $10,000 dual oven. And so that was greatly appreciated by Ms. Rosario, our kind of lead nutrition staff there at Seaside, to improve and increase the number of meals that we can produce and serve. We've had a couple other, we've had many projects. One more picture just to show on the next is, next slide. This is the partition wall from 3 years ago. And this could not have come at a better time. As we all know, with COVID, we had to be really strategic on how we use space to keep ratios and exposure amongst pods, as they're called at school and in childcare centers, separated to reduce any transmission or exposure. So this isn't the best picture, but we've painted it since then, and that when that's closed, it folds into the closet. And so it opens up to be a full community room, which served, like I said, as the vaccination clinics. It served as a polling place for many years. And then when it's partitioned, now it's divided and allows for two successful spaces. So that was a tremendous improvement for our youth in the community. We've completed multiple annual audits, program monitoring from the city of Seaside, city of Salinas, county of Monterey, and have never had any late reporting or inability to expend funds.
Good to hear.
Any questions?
I have a few questions. So the project for the replacement tile, you said it was estimated around 40,000.
In terms of what we're asking for?
Yeah, for the tile to replace the whole tile in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get a full accurate quote, only because a big variable what material we end up using. So for example, when we initially 4 years ago received about 70,000 to help with flooring throughout the facility, the initial material that was quoted would be sufficient. And then we realized, well, that might be 10 years. We could be coming back to the city of Seaside and saying, hey, with 240 footprints coming up and down these floors every day, we're going to have flooring issues again. And so the polished concrete, although it was almost twice as expensive, it's almost a forever solution in terms of that. So we thought we would be fairly conservative, and that if the project for a better solution of materials came in at say 50 or 60,000, the club's committed to using budget and pursuing funds, as we have with other projects that came in much higher than the grant awarded.
I noticed that the tile is actually in good condition. It's not cracked. A very durable tile, and it's actually more feasible to regrout your whole flooring, which will cost a lot less, and still give you a good lifespan of an additional 20-30 years. But I see that some unsettlement has happened, because you could see how the floor kind of bulged from past movements, which is normal, that happens. Is that interfering with the entry of how that door functions to get in and out of the kitchen?
Well, it's not interfering yet, nor is it kind of raised to the level of an emerging, like an immediate safety threat. But that's a big reason why we're tackling this project. And one thing just to note too, we're a full USDA nutrition program, so we provide supper during the school year, and then we provide breakfast and lunch. And so we have several layers of review. One is the Monterey County Health Department inspects our kitchen. And so I would say that cosmetically, there's some good things about our floor, and our staff do an amazing job maintaining cleanliness, all of those things. But in terms of cracks, I showed that one picture where you could start to see that the tile had been removed from the kind of partition separating the oven and like the kitchen appliances to the walk-in fridge. But we're not far from that being in other areas of the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's just also safer for the environment to also try to utilize what you currently have that still has a good lifespan, and reusing it, and then just trashing it out and having it removal. Then there's a cost for the demolition and removal of the project on top of putting new material in. But we gotta make some tough decisions, because there's only so much available for capital projects. So I want to make sure your group is thinking also outside the box to be a little bit more conservative.
Yeah, I mean, our experience thus far has been with flooring. It's pretty difficult to find vendors. I mean, the regrout potentially could be possible. I think my biggest concern is that section of the head-on shot, kind of walking from the gym entrance to the kitchen out to the community room. If they consider that like a lack of a better term, trouble spot, and that's 30% of the square footage, then again, the cost to whether you're looking at regrout or even just take even a section of that flooring, let's say aesthetics or cosmetics aside, where in fact, you might have noticed in the prior restroom, it's a completely different tile because you can't match a 30-year-old antique tile now. I think if the committee felt like based on an award that would like ask us to assess what could be salvaged, we would totally be open to looking at that. Also noting that, you know, if it's 20,000, let's just say hypothetically to repair, and it's, you know, 35, 40,000 to go new, that as that number gets closer and closer, we have to kind of think about the long-term impact there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, restoring it, you know, making it work for now and having to replace it completely in another 5 years, you know, where it's going to cost more at that time is something to consider.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Well, thank you so much for your time, Andrew, and I appreciate you chiming in on the mural.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's see. We already went through the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District Adult School for the portable rehab and also for the mural. So I guess we're down to Meals on Wheels, Monterey Peninsula for Meals on Wheels Community Kitchen. Who is doing that presentation?
Madam Chair, we have Miss Esther Hobbs will be presenting.
Asa?
Oh, it's Esther.
Esther.
Thank you, Esther.
Good evening. I'm back again.
Good to see you.
It's nice to see you. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Meals on Wheels of the Monterey Peninsula is excited to begin work on a new second community kitchen. As talked about last night, our demand for meals has increased dramatically and we're ready to reach that demand. It's projected that in just a few years, the senior population will dramatically increase. Last night, you asked me what the percentage of our population is considered seniors in Seaside, and I spent a fair amount of time today looking into that.
Oh, thank you.
And I want you to know the answer is just as complex as our community. It really depends on what age is a senior in some definitions. And I was alarmed to find out that I was close to a senior under some definitions. So I'm not quite sure I appreciated that question as much as I thought I would. But I went with what Meals on Wheels America considers 60 years old to be a senior. And according to them, 1 in 5 Americans is 60 years or older right now. And in 2020, 77 million seniors were in the United States. In just 10 years, 2030, we're going to have 93 million seniors, which is a 16 million increase. 12,000 more people every day across America turn 60. So I would guess, well, first of all, we don't just serve seniors though in our program, we also serve disabled adults and veterans. So in addition to our COVID positive families, it's a conservative estimate that currently about 38% of the population of Seaside is eligible for our program.
Wow.
And as our neighbors age, then of course, more Seaside citizens will be eligible, including myself. So through partnership with the Veterans Transition Center and the Food Bank for Monterey County, we're beginning to work on a second kitchen that will allow us to go from our current 1,500 meals per day to over 10,000 meals per day. We anticipate that we'll be serving more individuals because of growth within the next 1.5 years in the Seaside community. And so we're asking for a capital CDBG grant to purchase a machine called an automatic flow wrapping machine, and it will help us serve more Seaside residents home quality or quality home delivered meals. The automatic flow wrapping machine will help us safely package individual servings of food like rolls, hard-boiled eggs, and sandwiches and other items that need to be individually wrapped. The anticipated cost of opening our new kitchen is estimated at $4 million almost. And the amount we're asking for is about 2% of the total estimated cost. And the amount will also continue to serve the community for many years beyond just this funding year. With the ability to serve more people, we can expand our mission to serve other groups facing food insecurity beyond just frail elderly seniors, disabled individuals, and veterans, to include individuals experiencing homelessness, children, low-income families in Seaside and beyond. We know that many of our neighbors, especially as they age, must sometimes choose between housing costs and food costs. So our hope is that our program will enable more people to remain in their homes and not have to choose between going hungry or having a home. So thank you for your time and consideration, and I have whatever questions you have for me.
Any questions? Trent, Diana?
Does this machine create a large amount of waste?
It's a really good question. One of our main goals is actually to produce food in compostable waste. And so the actual machine we're trying to get is about $100,000 because of that. And so the $80,000 is just a portion of the cost for that, because we are committed to environmentally friendly practices.
I see. So everything that it does is compostable. That's what you're saying?
That's our intention, yes.
I see. Okay, thank you.
So the question I have is regarding long-term maintenance of this machine. What's the cost of the expense and how's that going to be covered? Like, who's going to be responsible to cover the maintenance of this machine? Is there something wrong with it or things of that nature?
Well, we don't have this machine right now, but we do have a similar machine that just helps us put out our daily meals. And our chefs have become quite adept at covering fixing it as it kind of needs fixing. But what I've also found is that most companies that sell these machines offer a maintenance contract. And so that will go into it. Another aspect of our community kitchen and partnership with the VTC is a jobs program. And so we'll be working with veterans, training them in different jobs. And so that would be something that we would also want to include, is just basic maintenance of kitchen appliances.
Great.
And this machine is not a fixed structure, correct?
It's not a fixed structure, no.
Yeah, and that's another concern that I have due to the requirements of the grant approvals, is that a lot of the equipment usually is like fixed, or this machine's not.
So it's not like drilled in. It's set in a certain part of the kitchen though, and it doesn't necessarily leave that part of the kitchen. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the ovens that you see like in the Boys and Girls Club. So it's not installed. It could theoretically be moved from this part of the kitchen to that part of the kitchen, but it is a part of the kitchen scheme.
Does this machine also weigh like the food?
I don't think that this machine weighs the food. We have another machine that weighs the food.
Okay.
This is really a machine that is like it wraps each individual item for transport safely.
So does it have to be calibrated?
From what I understand, and I have to tell you, I don't actually do the machine, and I'm hoping that it will be easy to adjust. But from what I understand, you move it from now I want it to wrap a whole bunch of pieces of banana bread, and now I want it to wrap some hard-boiled eggs, and now I need it to wrap sandwiches. So you can move it around to what size you need it to wrap the food.
Yeah, and sometimes equipment's like that because it has to weigh and calculate that. It needs to be constantly serviced for calibration.
I know that, like, in terms of just the meals we serve, we constantly are weighing meals in order to just to make sure that just quality assurance. So there are many different steps, I would imagine, that go to getting this machine.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question actually for Andrew, if you're still on. So did you say that the funds, the CDBG funds, were used to purchase the ovens that you showed in your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So then this is now, I guess, a question for Haroon to maybe the city staff is, how does that use differ from this equipment that the Meals on Wheels is asking for? Like from a fixed sort of thing.
I think it's my understanding that the ovens were approved along with the kitchen hood. Andrew, if correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, that requires some installation and needs to be affixed to the building. So there's definitely like commercial grade, commercial kitchen. There's definitely some installation involved, and plus there's also the question of site control. So we know that Boys and Girls Club, they're not going to sell their building, or their lease will come up on renewal or something. So that's also another important factor. And also the decision to approve funding for that purpose predates me. So it predates this committee as well. So it was a former committee, former city council action. But we haven't had audit yet, so I don't know what the outcome will be. But for things that are clearly ineligible under the CDBG regulations, ultimately the funds will have to be returned to HUD, whether the city pays for it or whether the funds are drawn, requested back from the subrecipient. So
I see.
just leaving that out there. And then also, maybe Esther, could you clarify the relationship with VTC and also whether Meals on Wheels of Monterey Peninsula owns this this kitchen or leases this kitchen? What's that relationship?
So the VTC has entered a partnership with us, and I know that we are in the building for at least 75 years is what the relationship is. And I believe that it is that they will have part of the building and we have part of the building, and we share the building, but we basically have the kitchen and are running that and running their jobs program and working with the veterans to help provide meals for the community.
So would you say that Meals on Wheels don't control the site, don't have ownership? The VTC does.
I'm going to tell you, the VTC has it through the VA, and then they will be giving it to us for 75 years. It's because it's federal property in the middle of everything else. I'm not sure what the exact ownership piece of it is. I know that it's through the VA, through the VTC to us for 75 years.
And there's a memorandum of understanding for that lease term, that's 75 years.
Yes.
Okay. And is it physically located within the city of Seaside jurisdiction?
It is within the city of Seaside jurisdiction, yes.
Okay.
I have no questions. Anyone else have anything to add or questions?
So I had a question because you mentioned, Esther, that you had last year's funding. Was it related to the kitchen that you currently have access to?
Last year's funding was related to the home delivered meals program, not the new community kitchen.
Okay, so this is a new kitchen. This is an existing kitchen that you still utilize, or?
Correct. So we'll have two kitchens going forward, and one will be located in Pacific Grove, and this one will be located in Seaside.
Oh, okay. That makes sense now. Okay.
Okay, since there are no further questions, thank you, Esther. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you all again.
Good presentation. Thank you. Okay, moving along, are there any reports from the committee members that you'd like to make?
No reports from me.
None for me.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today. For sharing, so we get the opportunity to put a face at the organization and get to meet everybody. I know that everybody's not with us, but I just want to say thank you for your patience and for doing this, and it gave us a little bit more helpful insight on the tough decisions that we have to make. So thank you so much.
Okay, are there any reports by staff? Mr. Nerd?
No, Madam Chair, staff don't have any reports. Just a friendly reminder, our next meeting is on February 24th, next Thursday at 6 p.m., where this committee will be discussing, deliberating on funding allocations and making recommendations to the City Council.
Okay.
So I encourage everyone that has participated in meeting tonight to attend our meeting on the 24th.
I have a question about that meeting, if I could, Madam Chair.
Go right ahead.
Traditionally, how long are these deliberation meetings? Like, is it an hour and a half, 2 hours? I mean,
It depends on how prepared the committee members show up to the meeting. So but typically, I mean, there's just typically consensus on how, what approach to use and how to allocate funds. The online evaluation tool that you will use will certainly help with some, like baseline allocation, because we do want to make sure that all applications score 70 and above out of 100. That tool is going to help you. It's super simple to use, and I'll be following up with individual emails with how to access that tool to rate each application. But then you have also received these presentations and you have detailed applications. So you'll be taking all those into account and then also, allocating funds within the parameters set by the NOFA, as well as how much funding we will have available. And then I'm sorry, one more thought. I believe I've shared an email with this committee before, which included links to prior CDAC and City Council meetings from last time around. So I would encourage you to watch those, because there are some lessons to be learned from those meetings on how to be efficient with our time next Thursday.
now we can't add numbers, right? As a committee.
I'm sorry, numbers.
Like for each grant applicant, we can't increase their request.
Unfortunately, no. I mean, yeah, we are limited, by our annual allocation amount from HUD. So plus our program income remains, in the same neighborhood, $105,000. So that will be the ceiling, and we'll have to allocate funds within those limits.
All right, then. Mr. Nori, do we need to do the adjournment first before we do the, I've lost my train of thought, before we take the roll call, or do we do the roll call first and then do the adjournment?
No, so but we would need a first and a second, and then do a roll call just to make sure that, yeah. So I'll need a first. If someone can move and say that
Okay,
I move ready to adjourn. Okay.
I move that we adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, then let's do roll call. Trent?
Present.
Diana,
Aye, present.
and I for Tina.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Aye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.